Welcome to On the Point Podcast, a podcast for all things Overwatch with a heavy focus on League, discussing roster moves, weekly matchup, and the Boston fucking Uprising, I guess. Jesus Christ!
Yeah. Yeah, they figured some shit out, ate their goddamn Wheaties, which this was so crazy to me because this is what I kind of expected them to look like at the start of the season, and then I'm just like, I guess this is just gonna be more of the same. And then as soon as I resign myself to that, we get this.
They're out here like, hey guys, remember season 1? What if we decided to live up to our name again? Oh my god! Anyway, hi, I'm Katie, I'm the support main.
I'm CJ, I'm the tank main, and Kitty, I have a question for you.
Yes.
Who are you?
What?
From that fucking comment you got.
So I guess we're starting off with this. It's not really news, it's pop culture.
Sorry,
So the Houston... Who am I? I'm Jean Valjean. No,
And I'm Trevor.
wrong song, but yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the Houston Outlaws released it's basically Houston Outlaws HEB sponsored content Gamer Snacks. It's not called Gamer Snacks, but it's Gamer Snacks.
Yeah,
where it's
pretty
basically
much.
like, let's cook. And they make queso, sponsored by HEB with HEB ingredients, and yet that like it's very obviously a sponsored piece. But for this very first episode, they had Crimzo and Piggy, and then they brought in one of their content creators named Lord Enzo. Boy, the video's awkward. There's some good stuff in there, and then there's some stuff that's like, Piggy does not seem comfortable on camera, and it's possible that it's because he's the only person who's not a native English speaker. It's possible that he just doesn't like being on camera, or that he thought he'd be good for it and then they got started and that wasn't the case. Like, I don't know, and I don't want to make assumptions, but the end product was the Lord Enzo was great because he's a content creator. This is what he does. He's very comfortable in front of the camera. Crimzo loosened up as the video went on, and just poor Piggy had like 1 or 2 word answers. And so I left this 2-paragraph comment about like, this is good, here's where the weaknesses are. And at the end, when they said, hey, who else do you want to see on here? I'm like, I want to see Jake because he's got those interviewing skills and he would be very good to team with a camera shy teammate. I want to see Dante because he'd be a force for chaos. And it's just kind of talking about, here's where it could go better. And I say this coming off of years of content creation experience and years of hosting experience. So I'm not going to sit here and say I'm a professional and I know everything, but I am going to say in some capacity I do know what I'm talking about. And there were some comments like, yeah, well, they're still teammates. And there were some comments that are like, oh, yeah, I agree. I would love to see the Korean teammates do this and be subtitled. And I'm like, I like that. And also, Jake said in his interview on Sunday, he's been learning Korean. So he would be a really... he would be a good interviewer go-between. And then I would just love to see that. Love to see him do his best in a language that he is not his native language, because we don't usually get to see that when it comes to English speaking teams. And so I'd love to see the shoe be on the other foot, and Jake is a chill dude and a good sport and he would do well with it. And then someone just replied to my comment and went, who are you?
Yeah, which I love that they took the time to just like they took the time to say that, put R in all caps. It's just like, it's one of those things that I can't like understand exactly what tone they were going for. I don't know if it's like, who the fuck are you saying all this? Or if it's, oh my god, who are you? Like, this is right. Or like, I don't know what the fuck it was. It was just really funny to me. And I just can't help but hear it in the voice of that kid from that one meme. Wait, who are you? Like,
Given that it ended in XD, we had the little emoticon at the end, I think I read that as, holy shit, this is 2 paragraphs of like in-depth critique. when all of the other comments are just, repeating quotes from the video or
Yeah.
saying, "Oh, I'd love to," all the other comments are one or two lines, which there's nothing wrong with that.
Hmm.
It's the YouTube comment section. You put what you want, but mine kind of sticks out because it is the only like media criticism in there.
Yeah, like yours was definitely, your comment was definitely the perspective of someone who's like, okay, I've done this before. I've had to figure out how to like make bits or formats work. It was definitely someone who, it was definitely a more technical answer than I think anyone was expecting to see on this video.
Well, and I've had, again, with the host and interviewer experience, I have had incredibly great interviews where an hour flies by, and I have had, oh God, this person's not comfortable being here, but we still loop him into the conversation and make it work interviews that are incredibly difficult.
Yes.
So I've been on both sides of that. And interviewing is a different skill from content creation. It just is. And Lord Enzo is a great content creator, but he does not have the interview chops for something like that. Like the person I've seen in League who has the best interview chops, hands down, Soe,
Yeah.
equaled by only Danny Lim. Like
Yeah.
those two.
Yeah. Like when you're conducting an interview like that, it's such a difficult thing to be able to like, because when you write interview questions, and I say this as someone who's done it, like not in this sort of capacity, but someone who's done it for documentaries, um, is you have a direction that you kind of want things to go in. Like you obviously don't have the other side's answer like scripted out, but a lot of the time when you're asking questions, it does you do kind of have the angle that you want to move in mind. And when you're interviewing someone and they take a hard left away from that or don't give you much to work with at all, if you can keep that flowing, that's how you that's the mark of a good interviewer.
Yeah, that's what separates the professionals from the people who don't have that experience yet. And I've had interviews described to me as it's a conversation, but nobody cares what you're saying. It's like, and this is true. The
Yeah.
questions don't matter, the answers do. And
Yeah.
so it's hard. This was kind of a hard mode interview, and it takes a lot to be able to do those, and it's not an easy thing to do. So again, I'm not sitting here going, "Oh, it's bad," or "Oh, they didn't do it right." I'm going, "This was not the best mix." And they made like bog standard queso. So it's not like the two cooking channels I watch here are Binging with Babish and You Suck at Cooking. And Binging with Babish's thing is he recreates food from TV shows, cartoons, etc., and basically just goes for it. He has high level technique. He's got a great voice, but it's mostly just you want to sit down and watch this guy who knows his shit make these incredible things.
Yeah.
You
It
Suck at Cooking is for people at my level of cooking. It's very simple, it's very easy, but he lives in this like weird surrealist alternate reality. And so his videos are all extremely bizarre comedy, and
mhm.
they are so much fun to watch. But
Yeah.
also, I've made some of the recipes there because they're at about my level. I can do it. So it's his food is not groundbreaking, but the presentation is phenomenal.
Yeah, when you're making a cooking show, like, and we talked about this a bit, you've got to have at least one of like the following. You need to have either bomb ass technique, you need to like really have something to show in terms of making of your ability to cook. You need to have a sort of like memeable presentation, the way that You Suck at Cooking does, where like how it's put together is just weird and bizarre and sort of engaging in and of itself. You need to have pop culture appeal, like Binging with Babish does, or Joshua Weissman's like But Better. You need to have you need to offer like some kind of specific insight into like why or how a recipe is made this way. Maybe like come up with something like really creative, the way that some baking channels will kind of take on weird challenges, or like Babish will with a lot of the weird food recipes like the fucking tortilla hat, where you need to just embrace chaos. If you don't tick at least one of those boxes, you're not gonna really hold people's interests.
And for the Outlaws here, their best bet, because if you're looking at the formula that worked for Gamer Snacks, 95% of that was Agilities and Kareev playing off of each other and just being nuts. I will forever remember, while they're getting ingredients from the fridge, Agilities pulling out a can of aerosol whipped cream and teaching Kareev how to do the whipped cream in the mouth thing because he'd never done it. Just weird, ridiculous shit like that.
You
And
know what?
because they
Okay,
can't,
I was about to say, you know what it reminds me of?
what's it remind you of?
It's it's like the relationship between an older sibling and a younger one, where like older one's trying to be responsible but still occasionally does some, funny or dumb shit because, they're a human being. But then they have to like rush to stop the younger sibling from doing something like fucking stupid.
See, I kind of flip that on its head, where it's the younger sibling who like really wants to do this and wants the older sibling to take them seriously,
Mm.
and the older sibling's just taking the piss.
Yeah, that could very well be it as well. Like in any case, like that dynamic is like the fucking center of it.
Yeah. And part of it was they were able to just go a little nuts because they were making a cooking show. I don't think the Outlaws will be able to improvise with the recipe or the ingredients because they made a very big deal about every single ingredient is provided and generally branded by HEB. And they were very obviously following a recipe. So I don't think that they will be able to go off book for that. And
Mhm.
therefore, you lean solely on the on camera talent. So again, it worked for Lord Enzo, it worked kind of for Crimzo, and then poor Piggy he just did not look comfortable on camera, and there were some parts of the video that were just kind of difficult to watch because of it. Like, again, I don't want this to sound like I'm blaming him. I've interviewed people who aren't comfortable on camera, and it's fun. It's
It
hard to do.
it absolutely is.
But yeah, they just the strength of this will be in their talent, and this is why they need Dante in the kitchen and a fire extinguisher. Just yeah, so there's room for improvement, but that's where "who are you"
Yeah,
comes
yeah,
from. Now that we've
yeah.
spent the first 12 minutes talking about something that is not in any capacity in our outline, let's go into results.
Look, I said sometimes you just need to embrace chaos. I just chose to do that myself today. But week
Yeah.
6 results. It's my turn this time, motherfucker. Uh, so
Anyway.
now you know. Now you know what it's like to live in my brain. Uh, so week
This is
6
what
results.
podcasting with you is
Yeah.
like.
Week 6 results. Paris Eternal take on the Toronto Defiant, and Toronto claims a 3-1 victory. The London Spitfire go up against the Florida Mayhem and have a similar 3-1 scoreline in the favor of Florida. Moving over to APAC, we've got the Guangzhou Charge versus the Hangzhou Spark. Spark, with our third consecutive 3-1, take the victory. Next up, Shanghai Dragon versus Chengdu Hunters, which breaks the 3-1 trend, with Shanghai picking up a 3-0. However, we're back to the 3-1s as New York 3-1s the Philadelphia Fusion.
What year is it?
Right after I shit talk all of their coaches. I didn't think Caster Curse applied to podcast this fucking like rapidly.
Are we in season 1 again?
Yeah,
What the fuck?
it was so weird to see like this iteration of the team, which always looked really tentative or not quite comfortable, or like sort of a step behind in some of the 1v1s, go up against the Philadelphia
Take it
Fusion.
again.
Yeah, the Philadelphia Fusion, and like Philly didn't look like they were playing badly, but they were just a little bit slower and a little bit like less ready to take advantage of the openings that were there.
New York just showed up like, heard you talking shit. My
Yeah,
God.
yeah, seriously, that was like the best performance we've seen out of the NYXL this season or last season.
Yeah. Ever since they moved to APAC.
Yeah, basically, yeah. It's yeah, it was strange, and especially considering sort of how their next game would go. I just am left wondering as to like where the NYXL's actual strength line, like where their power level is at.
Just one of those moments of, y'all okay? Y'all okay?
Yeah, it
Maybe?
seriously,
For
like,
Philly.
yeah, Florida. I was trying to say Flora, and I'm so used to saying Florida in the context of this. Flora looked great throughout
Yeah.
this. Jonak looked really, really solid. They had a pretty damn solid. They were well practiced on the competition compositions. Fuck, why is this so hard for me today? Uh, Compositions, and I will say, like, I feel like Carpe and Rascal, like, both just looked a little. I don't know. They weren't quite as like in step as they were for a lot of it, and I feel like they didn't change up compositions when they needed to.
Yeah, Philly just wasn't there when they needed to be. And it felt that way on their other match of the weekend as well. It was just problems this weekend. I don't know if it was an off weekend. I don't know if it was hero pool struggles. And I really do think hero pools just completely flipped the table on about half the league, which I have no problem with this. I enjoy the chaos, even though my pick'ems were completely fucked this week.
Oh my god, yeah, but yeah, Feather and Flora, they really showed up in a big way during this match, and like those were two of the guys that you know, when I said the team's well scouted, I thought they were going to be good pickups, but I didn't know like how are they were going to compete overall, especially under the guidance of a coaching staff that I didn't really believe in, and I'm still not sure that I do. But they showed what they're capable of.
Yeah, the answer this weekend is fairly well.
Yeah, the answer this week is fuck you, Beard Man. And
The
with
answer
that,
this week is
yeah,
I'm sorry, did you want to predict the matches this
and,
weekend?
and with that, we will retreat back to NA.
For
Just
El
in,
Clasico,
yeah, in time for another upset where the Paris Eternal 3-0 Washington Justice.
after playing 5 maps.
Yeah, it.
Just for this, I went grocery shopping down in Little Tokyo, so it's a drive. And I wanted to be back home before the Outlaws match. And I was like, well, that's not going to happen. I left too late in the day, whatever. And I finish my shopping and I go into a restaurant and I order food and I'm waiting to pick it up and go. And I check Twitter and I see that someone has retweeted a tweet from the original El Clasico. Do you ever feel like you're being held hostage by an Overwatch match? And I stared at that. And then I looked at the fact that I had no notifications from the Outlaws Discord and I went, are they still playing?
Yeah, this was one of those. This was normally when you have a game with one draw, let alone two, which I don't know if we've seen that happen before. Um,
2 draws? Yes, El Clasico. This
oh right,
season,
yeah,
not yet.
yeah, but it's normally when that's happening, it's because the teams are so evenly matched, either because they're playing so well or so crap. But in this case, it was just Washington just. Did you ever watch like the original Rocky movie?
No, but I know what happens.
Well, the thing that I want to harp on is Rocky Balboa when he gets his fight against Apollo Creed. Pretty much the decision made by him and his trainers is instantly just like, look, there is no way on any fucking planet that we're going to beat him in terms of skill. He is too good. You're not even close. And even if we just focused all of our training um, on building you up on a technical level, you're just not going to get there in the time that we have. The reason Rocky, goes the distance is because he's got a chin made out of fucking granite. And this is what we were seeing out of Washington here. It's just like they were getting the crap kicked out of them pretty much throughout this. And it's just, I didn't hear no bell.
All I can think of, I took this in a completely different direction. I don't know if you've ever watched any of One Piece, but they have an
Not in a while.
obligatory. Not in a while. Did you see Thriller Bark?
No.
It's a ways in. It's the obligatory horror themed. It's Thriller Bark is a very good time with some very egregious exceptions. Um, but there's the gif that came from that everyone loves is the first time the crew encounters a zombie. Like, it's in a grave, it reaches the hand out, it sits up, and Luffy, God bless him, walks over to it, grabs it by the shoulders, and just gently pushes it back down in the grave. Like, no, you stay there now. And that's all I could think of for this.
I've seen that fucking image.
Yeah, it's that. It's Paris just gently pushing the Washington Justice zombie back down in the grave. Like, no, it's okay. You stay there. That's where you belong. So that was all I could think of for this.
Yeah.
Map after map after map, just stay in the grave.
It's just the one shot from fucking Age of Ultron. Go to sleep, go to sleep, go to sleep, go to sleep.
Yeah. Anyway, insert pop culture reference here. We had a good time having a bad time.
Yeah, Paris.
And then, can we talk about the mythology lessons? I cried. I went back to watch the VOD and I cried. And then I watched on Sunday Saturday was when we got the first one, when we got the Prometheus flying too close to the sun. Yeah. Saturday was when it was extremely bad. Sunday was the quiz. Oh my God.
Well, yeah, the thing is, I was in the middle of taking care of some stuff when that happened. So I was like on a call, and I just looked over to my screen and I saw the subtitles, like Prometheus flew too close to the sun. And I just stopped talking on the call for a couple seconds. Because, I was like, am I having a stroke? Like, what the fuck is happening? What is this? Like, is it just like the text-to-speech just not being with it? Like, what the fuck is going on?
When there are weekday matches, I listen to them while I'm working. And I don't even remember what I was doing at the time, but I know for a second there, I just kind of took the hands off the keyboard and sat there and went, what? And then Saturday, I was driving to Little Tokyo and listening to these, because this is what you can do when you have an audio jack that plugs into your car. This is why I appreciate our casters, because I know what's happening when I'm not looking at the screen. So I'm stuck in traffic on the 101, listening to mythology lessons. And crying. Oh my actual God. And part of it would, like, Bren gets something egregiously wrong and then goes, yeah, I've played Hades. And I'm like, no, you haven't. Because then you'd know that Theseus was the one who killed the Minotaur, because he won't fucking let you forget it. Have you played Hades? How far did you get? So,
yeah.
Just one of those, like, please stop. And then God bless the quiz, where Danny got an answer right and Sideshow had the incorrect answer. And I about transcended reality right there.
Yeah, my fucking brain was leaking out of my ears. Like, when I went back and listened to it, you know what? It was in the match it should have been in.
Yeah. And I think this was, I believe, Friday was when Zoe did the speaking of unsuccessful. segue to introduce them. I think that was this Friday. And I just, considering that it led into those mythology lessons, yeah, I'll take it. I know it was a flub. I know she didn't mean to say it, but oh my god. Anyway, so this match had everything, whether you wanted it or not.
Yeah, and this, like, Washington Justice, it was really interesting to watch this just because obviously I haven't gone over this with like a fine-tooth comb or anything, but I feel like their compositional choices were a bit weird, and they also just either didn't take the high ground or gave it up really, really easily. And they ended up losing some map control in a lot of situations, and it just ends up with them not with them not being in sort of an ideal position for a team fight to start. And it happened over a couple of their different compositions, especially if you go, especially on like Ilios and Nimbani and Volskaya, like those are the ones I kind of noticed it on.
So
Um,
3 out of the 5 maps that they either lost or
like,
drew.
yeah, no, like I said, it seemed to be a pretty consistent problem. And then the other thing was like when they're doing that like Moira Echo dive, the like I don't really think this is a strong comp.
It's a glass, God bless.
Yeah,
It's a
sorry.
glass cannon comp.
Well, yeah, because the thing is, Echo, like, playing the reason Pharmacy is so, the reason you pretty much never see a Pharah without a Mercy, and the same with an Echo, and I'm about to fucking sneeze again. I can feel it.
So take the time and sneeze. I'll mark the time.
No, it feared me. It left. Um, so, but yeah, the reason you see like Pharah or Echo with a Mercy, like always, is a good hit scan player can hit a Pharah or an Echo relatively consistently, and it only takes one or two to sort of force you to go to ground and avoid
And
getting killed. So if you don't have like range support, it's really hard for the Echo to do their job, and Echo also doesn't have uh, a cooldown like Sombra or Tracer does to help them get out of trouble if they get caught out.
playing essentially a flying character without of support backup is the equivalent of just sending them out in the open and screaming "Pull!"
Yeah, I like I know Spilo did a post sort of breaking it down, and I haven't gotten to read that yet, but it's on the subreddit, the competitive Overwatch r/competitive Overwatch. Just go check it out. I would be surprised if this isn't on there, but it was just like this composition. I didn't like it, and I think they need to sort of prioritize taking the high ground, and like holding it a little more if they want to start seeing more success. But they definitely didn't play like complete crap or anything. Like it's not like they suddenly just lost the fucking plot. But there were just again, I'd need to go over this in more of like fine detail to give you any sort of like meaningful stuff beyond that. But I just think those two things really negatively affected them.
It just feels like nothing worked.
Yeah.
Speaking of nothing working, Houston versus Atlanta.
I was about to say, stop mocking me. But uh, Houston Outlaws versus Atlanta Reign. It started off on a relatively even keel, but the longer it went on, the more Atlanta ran away with it.
Yeah, it's just, they got boomed and then they never got unboomed. And usually Jake is pretty good at pulling them back from that shit, but no, no. Today was when the Jake Mercy was a meme. The next day, the Jake Mercy worked.
Yeah,
But today it
and
was just like, oh no, oh dear.
but yeah, Atlanta just looks really good right now. They're playing. They know what they want to do. They're acting decisively. They're on the same page, And this, you know, meta right now just really seems to suit what they can do. Like they're in a really good spot.
Yeah, fucking hero pools, man. If you've
Hmm.
got legs and you know how to use them, they work out well for you.
Yeah, but I feel like this was even more than just the hero pool. Like I think it definitely played into it, but they just look better in terms of how they're playing as a whole than they did in the melee.
This is also true.
Speaking of looking better as a whole, Boston Uprising 3-0'd the Toronto Defiant.
Again, I question whether we are in season 1, except that the existence of the Toronto Defiant tells me we're not.
Yeah.
Oh my
Um
god. I
yeah.
was telling my roommate, who knows very little about Overwatch League except what I tell her when I have her held hostage, uh, describing this to her. And I don't know if you watch Game Theory, but one of the theorists they have on there is Austin. He does very science and math based ones. And he always starts his videos with, "Hi, it's me, Austin." And so this whole weekend was just, "Hi, it's me, Boston." Just, oh my God, they showed up and chose violence and were very good at it.
Yeah, they like I said before, this was a confident, decisive Boston Uprising that I was expecting to see at the start of the season. Um, like just because I am high on their new head coach, Lori. Um, so like stand one looked great. Gable She looked great. Valentine and I'm 37 looking like fucking bosses on DPS. Yunbong and Faith like picking it up on their end too. Like it just like and when they bring Pulk Punk back into the lineup, they're not missing a step having that piece back in there. Like
I was gonna
something has just
say,
clicked.
was this the first time that we've seen Gable She play?
Yes, because Gable Sheed, um,
Just turned 18 or just got a visa?
I, there was some holdup, but like I know that he's you know he turns 19 in August.
Okay, so
I
it's
forget
not that.
exactly what the situation was, but yeah, this was like this stage is the first time we're seeing him in action.
And he woke up and chose violence.
Oh, they picked him
Very,
up on April
very
16th, so it was yeah, pretty close to the
okay.
start of the league.
Yeah, so he woke up and chose violence. Very, very effective violence. Like,
Yeah.
Boston just showed up and ran roughshod over both of their opponents this weekend, which is the exact opposite of what we expected them to do.
Yeah. Like I really don't have much else to say than like this was the Boston Uprising I expected to see, and they looked good in, you know, their next match this week. So
Like I said, they're living up to their name again.
yeah, we will see if this is a trajectory. Fuck, why that they can continue.
It's one of those things.
So yeah, um, yeah, we will see if this is something that they can keep up going forward, especially as they start to compete against against the more top tier teams right now.
Yeah, they are definitely ones to watch, and it'll be interesting to see how much hero pools factor into this. Like, we're going to get a different
Yeah.
hero pool in a month, and it will be interesting to see if, for one, if Boston maintains this crazy sweep, because I think it was Soa's prediction that they will be undefeated going into the June Joust playoffs, which I can see that happening. um
Well, who's the rest of their schedule? I've got to look it up now.
Yeah, you look it up. I will continue to natter. It will be interesting, for one, to see how they do in the June Joust, if they can remain undefeated in their regular matches. And for another, to see how the hero pool for the Summer Showdown will change again, because we know that these same four heroes cannot be removed again for the rest of the season.
Mhm.
So it's going to remain to be seen, who are we taking out? And my
Okay.
guesses at this point would be, yeah, I would
So
imagine that we would lose Widowmaker and McCree at some point. We might lose Soldier because of the play just this week. Either Zarya or Sigma for tank and Ana for support. That's my not at all sponsored by Pringles bold prediction.
well, isn't
Next month's hero pools.
I thought next month we were back to no hero pools and it was the countdown cup or whatever. Or am I mixing up
The Countdown Cup is the one right before the finals playoffs. What we're going into after this is, I believe, the Summer Showdown.
Yeah, no, like I thought the hero pools like it was 1 month off, 1 month on, 1 month off, 1 month on.
I have no idea. It
Okay,
could be.
there will be no hero pools for the May Melee Summer Showdown or in the playoffs. It is for the June Joust and Countdown Cup tournament cycles only.
Okay then. Never bold prediction immediately disproven. Awesome. Awesome. Alrighty, you have Boston's schedule, right?
Yes. Their next games are against the Paris Eternal, who are also surging right now,
Hmm.
and the Los Angeles Gladiators.
Oh, yeah, that rivalry. Ha.
That
Oh
will
boy, unless the Glads pull it out, we're in trouble.
that'll be interesting.
Oh
That
boy, oh boy, oh boy. Oh
can
boy.
can you
Oh boy.
imagine can you imagine if the Gladiators like just completely shit the bed right now, what fucking havoc this would create amongst the LA fans? If there's just like
I don't think you understand that I don't have to imagine this. I've been a Gladiators fan for a while.
true, true.
We've never been a top 4 team.
They keep
Ever.
looking like they could be, but they don't make it.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
can't belly across the finish line.
Yeah. It's wild that it's easier to be a Houston fan this year than a Gladiators fan. Buck wild. And for those of you going, well, it's your home team now, isn't it? I'm like, yeah, just because it's my home team doesn't make it my team. That would be the Outlaws. Evidently, I just need green in the color and I'm in.
I mean, yeah, I'm a New Yorker living in LA and I root for Dallas. Figure that one out.
You do what you want, evidently. We're good. Alrighty.
uh,
Yay. So
yeah,
Boston, depending on how things with Paris go, I don't think Zoe's bold prediction is as bold as it might seem on the cover.
if they look this good next week, it's entirely possible.
Yeah, either which way, they're already at 2-0 for June Joust. So
Yeah.
even one more win should put them in the playoffs.
Well,
Easy.
we'll obviously we'll see because not with everyone getting into the June Joust with the May Melee, there had to be some they had to go through the eliminations even with 3-1, I believe, in the May Melee.
That was with map differential, though. Right now, Boston is sitting on 2-3-0, so that map differential is pretty fucking good.
True that if they put up a convincing win in at least one of these and don't get completely smashed in the other, they have very good chances. I'm just saying it's not 100% guaranteed yet.
Yeah. Yeah, we will see how this goes. The May Melee was bug nuts. I'm sure the June Joust will be as well. Right,
Yeah.
moving on to other crazy things. Hangzhou taking out Shanghai 3-0.
Yeah, this one I didn't see coming.
I don't think anyone saw this coming. This is weird. This is
Yeah.
weird. Speaking of things that are weird when compared with the previous day's games, Guangzhou taking out New York 3-1.
Yeah, it was just
What?
it was just like how I would have expected this to go going into the weekend. Got upended 2 separate times.
Yeah, I mentioned my pick'ems and getting a possible 12, getting 12 points out of a possible 70. I think some of my points came from this match because I think I did pick Guangzhou.
Yeah.
Because that was what we were making jokes about. Well, what are you thinking? Are we thinking not great coaching, or are we thinking none coach with left Choi Sawan and none coach with left Choi pulled through?
Yeah, it really did. And like it I once again the embrace of chaos. And that continues with Philly versus Chengdu up next, where Chengdu wins 3-1 after getting spanked by Shanghai.
And this one did have a draw. This was a
Yeah.
map 5. But again, I sit there and look at this single hued orange match where you look at which ones who won what thing. Well, I don't know, but the gray one sticks out like a sore thumb. Just goddamn. I remember
Yeah.
Soe commenting about the color schemes for APAC for Saturday night because
Blue
yeah,
and
we had
blue, orange and orange.
red and pink, blue and blue, orange, and just like, okay, all right, okay. At least those two shades of blue, you can tell them apart a little. They flip them, but for Philly and Chengdu, they just because the draws are gray, they have orange for both of them, and it's a problem, folks. So yeah, this was all just Philly continuing to fall short. I just finished watching this one today. Thank you, VOD. Just a lot of Philly falling short and Chengdu playing their faces off.
Yeah.
Like this entire if you stayed up till 3 a.m. on Saturday to watch these matches, one, more power to you, and two, at what point did you start thinking that you were delirious?
I
Because what the fuck?
I mean, I think I was delirious since the mythology lesson, but
This
that's
is also true.
neither here nor there.
Uh, oh my god. Okay. Okay. Yeah, nope. You brought back the mythology lesson, and now I just kind of want to lie on the floor for a little bit.
Just imagining the fucking SpongeBob the future.
Yeah. Yep. That. So yeah, the I can't wait to see what mythology lessons we'll have next when they tell us that the the spawn of a god and a mortal isn't called a demigod, it's called a hero.
I want to hear
Ugh.
I want to hear Bren try and talk about Norse mythology.
I want to hear Bren try and pronounce Norse mythology.
That's half the reason. So he's got this
Fair.
spear, right, called Gungnir.
Fucking fair. All right. Well, coming out of the madness of Greek mythology lessons and coming out of the madness of APAC, we have three more matches on Sunday, which go as planned, I guess.
I mean, in some ways,
And
the
some way,
Atlanta.
well, we
Yeah.
have Atlanta versus Boston, and Atlanta
No. Atlanta versus
Boston.
London.
I'm gonna just lie on the floor now. Good night, everybody. Wow, we have Atlanta because Boston's down, and I just managed to skip that somehow. We have Atlanta versus London, with Atlanta just rolling over them, and for a moment, balance was restored to the force. And then Boston showed up and just threw Washington out on the street and told them not to come back. They dumped him in the harbor.
Looked at Decay, who has not been played at all, just stared at him on the bench. We do not smile upon deserters to the cause. And then just beat his team in front of him.
It's one of those things where, like, your cat is making eye contact with you while they reach out slowly and knock a full glass of water off the table.
I
That's what that
really,
was.
I really want to know why Decay isn't getting played.
I see, and I'm wondering how much stock you put in that theory, whether they would be doing better if Decay were playing. We have no idea why he hasn't been played, and we don't have any theories. This reminds
Mm-hmm.
me heavily of season 2 playing Kuki instead of Kusta in a support role. during goats, which is fun for everyone. Um, but yeah, that's what this reminds me of. But again, we have no answers if it's a coaching decision or a contract issue or if Decay is having medical issues. Like, we don't know. And we're not going to theorize on that front.
Yeah, like obviously I don't know what the situation is, so I can't make any sort of guess as a result of that. But at the same time, I feel like having him in instead of Jerry could be helpful, just because especially on like the Ash and the Widowmaker, Jerry is solid. Um, and I feel like some of it comes down to him not getting as much support as he needs in situations where he's getting pressured. But like, especially like if you watch how frequently he's not getting the beam from closer, like that's kind of a thing. But like, I think he's still really solid on those heroes. But I would put him at like just good as opposed to Decay's ability to completely take over a game.
Yeah, they're missing that clutch factor. It's a little bit
Yeah.
like having Carpe on the bench.
Yeah, it's just strange to me, and I don't know what the situation is, but I would be curious to see how they perform with him back in the mix, just because if he's there and ready to pop off, like that's just one more threat that the enemy team has that needs to be neutralized before they can make anything happen.
So yeah, we I guess we'll find out or maybe we won't. But either which way, Washington needs to make some form of change because obviously what they're doing is not working.
Yeah, like hopefully they can patch up the issues that I saw, and that I'm sure there are others that people who are smarter and know the game better than me probably have spotted as well. So,
Like the coaching staff, hopefully.
I mean, yeah, one would hope.
Yeah. Anyway, moving on to the speaking of hope, moving on to the final match of the weekend. The Outlaws win 3-1 over Florida, which
Yeah,
most people did not think could happen.
it was funny too because like much as Atlanta picked up momentum throughout their game, I feel like Houston had a similar sort of trajectory over the course of this one.
They did, and it was fun to watch them lean into the curve. And I appreciate, and I think the casters were talking about this a little bit as well. But once they made their subs and put Jake in, they didn't do a lot of subbing out or switching around. They just
Mhm.
went for it. And he's been maining support. His brig is solid. His mercy is a lot better than it was the previous day. And then we got to Anubis, and they threw him on DPS to do Junkrat on defense. And it was beautiful.
Yeah,
It was
like
just I've missed it. I know, like, oh, junk playing Junkrat's a meme, the Jakerat's a meme, and it is, but he's good.
oh, absolutely. Like the thing is, it was never that like his Junkrat was never like, well, sometimes was kind of the meme in and of itself, but the meme kind of arose because in some situations people were making the joke that he's only good at Junkrat, but he's improved his brig a lot from where he was during his
Goats.
tenure on the character in the Goats meta, in which I think he was one of the biggest liabilities on the team.
Well,
Um,
there's a difference between being in brig jail as a DPS and choosing to play support and play up that character because you want to. He has been maining support for a reason, and I think part of it's different kit, different meta, but
oh
part
yeah.
of it is mentality shift.
Yeah, no, and I think that's entirely reasonable. I'm not, like I'm obvious. I'm not, trying to shit on him or like make
Oh
any
no, I know.
assumptions. I'm just saying that he's come a long way on this front, and You know, he definitely doesn't seem to have missed a step in large part coming back into this. Like, he definitely got picked off a lot in the Atlanta game, but he looked really strong here.
He did. And can we talk about the tire that would have passed the support line by had they not called attention to themselves?
Oh my god, you mean hit BQB, not like
Fucked it
shot at
up.
the tire, yeah.
He's like, I can get it. I can get it. It's like, oh, hello. He
Yeah.
went by them. And then BQB went, I can headshot a tire. And it turned out he couldn't. He
Yeah.
just couldn't.
He landed the first shot, got it down to half health, couldn't finish it.
I mean, I've had that trouble with boyfriends, so no. I mean, I'm ace, so that's patently untrue, but I couldn't resist making the joke. Yeah.
I was about to say. I was about to, like, I was laughing, but at the same time, I was just, wait.
Embrace the chaos, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, that was funny.
That was,
That was great. It's just watching the camera on the tire and then watching it go around and go, hang on a minute.
yeah, and I will admit, like, right before that, when Uber just goes, they see me rolling, they hating. I was like, please let him just keep going. I just want to hear like the whole lead into the fucking chorus.
As someone who can do that sometimes, it's hard.
Yeah.
Improvising lyrics that work with the meter and the rhyme scheme on the fucking fly, it's hard.
Oh yeah, no, and it's something that I genuinely like love doing, and I was just hoping that he would continue doing it because I immediately was doing it like while watching it.
It's like, you got me started and now I have to finish.
Yeah, no, it was just
Unlike BQB
and
and
also
my imaginary ex-boyfriend.
yeah, and the next line is patrolling, trying to catch me riding dirty. So it's just like there
It's
are
there.
so many opportunities. Like you only need to realistically change like 3 words. You could just keep patrolling, trying to catch, and then like the mayhem sleeping was what I came up with like in the moment watching it. But like, God, it just he's so good, but at the same time, I was just like, I was really hoping.
Yeah. Maybe next time. Of
Maybe
course,
next time.
be careful what you wish for. I'm just imagining Brandon Sideshow taking up this task.
Maybe, but like I just feel like it's something that belongs to the Overwatch League's resident rap god.
Okay.
Do you not remember all the jokes about Uber being Overwatch League's rap god because of how fucking fast he talks?
I don't think I've ever heard any of those jokes.
That's a thing. That's absolutely a thing.
Okay. Okay. I believe it. I just haven't heard any of them.
I
But
literally
all
type
right.
it in and I'm getting like multiple fucking videos of like people putting like rap god on like overlaying his casting.
You'll have to see them after we're done.
Yeah.
But yeah, speaking of, I think we're done with the recap. This isn't quite the recap from hell, but it's like, oh my god, all I can think of is at the end of Sunday morning's APAC games, Vicky Kitty talking about how it's fucking 9 a.m. her time, but she's on Overwatch time. She's been up all night for this, and her pick'ems are officially in the garbage. And I'm like, I think that's how we all feel. Even watching the VOD at 3 p.m., I was like, yeah, no. This entire weekend has had big 4 a.m. what the fuck am I doing energy.
Yeah. It was
Also,
it
I just want to take a minute and say that Vicky has been one of the best additions to the casters
oh
this
yeah, she's been
season.
killing it.
Holy shit. Yes, I'm so glad. And I mean, Avril too. I don't see him as often. Vicky stands out to me more because
Mhm.
holy shit, the league finally got their shit together and got a female caster. Thank you.
Yeah,
Finally.
and I still want to see Zoe get a chance to do it at some point, but Vicky's killing it.
Honestly, if Soa is happy being lead host, I'm just remembering the first 2 seasons where the desk was 4 guys, sometimes 4 white guys, almost to exclusion, almost all the time. And that, especially with the departure of Golden Boy and of Malik, and then turning around and our lead host is a woman, and then we've also added a person of color as a permanent host for this season, and I'm just like, yes, thank God, we're doing things better. I'll take it. Soe had the brain cell, and then Danny brought one of his own. So occasionally we have 2 brain cells to rub together, and then also there's Custa and Reinforce. But I if Zoe wants to cast, let her cast. But she is a fantastic lead host because
Yeah.
wrangling people is incredibly difficult,
Oh,
and
it
she
so
does it
is.
with panache. She is fashion goals, she is hosting goals, she is life goals. That woman is a queen, and we stan her.
Ain't no arguments here.
Like, and usually I'll say, you're allowed to have your opinions, etc. Incorrect. If you do not stand Soe, you are wrong. You are patently wrong.
I got nothing to say
Fight
but
me.
preach. I I
Just
won't. I agree with you.
no, that's just a general
Yeah.
fight me. I don't
I
expect you to because you get it.
yeah, I'm aware. I was mostly doing it for the comedic value of it. Um.
Yeah, that,
Anyway,
and I'm so happy that we have Danny full time on the desk. I
I
appreciate
missed him
that
last year.
sheer. Huh?
I missed him last year.
Yeah, I think he'd come in for the interviews, but I miss the sheer chaotic neutral energy that he brings because he has a brain cell. He has one of the 2 brain cells on the desk, but he is such a force for chaos. And I will never forget week 1, all of them going, well, Danny's doing great predictions. Well, Danny knows what he's doing. You predict this match and we'll copy your homework. And he took a look at San Francisco versus Houston and said, I think Houston's gonna win. And everyone went, oh no. And then he was right. Like, the sheer chaos energy involved in all of this is incredible.
Yeah, it's fucking great. So, shall
So,
we move on to
yes.
the news?
Yes, just real
Okay.
quick. I
Yeah.
appreciate the configuration of the desk as it is. Yes, good.
Yes.
Thank you, Overwatch, for Overwatch League for doing better. Keep doing
Yeah,
better.
completely agreed.
Bring Liz and Lemon up as a Lemon. What am I thinking? I'm
Lemon kiwi,
conflating 2 people.
lemon
Leg Day
kiwi.
and Lemon.
Yeah,
Yes, bring them
they
up.
they absolutely deserve it.
They do.
So, um, so moving on to the news. Our first piece of news kind of informs some of the stuff from this previous week's predictions results, I should say.
Results. Yeah.
Houston picks up Dreamer, which I gotta say was an interesting choice. Considering how good Jungkook has looked, like Dreamer has been good, and I feel like he's integrated into the team pretty well. But obviously you're more sort of keyed into the Houston stuff in general that I am. So I was just wondering, have they said anything as to why they, wanted to bring in Dreamer, or why they, prefer him to be playing in these sort of situations rather than Jungkook?
I mean, not that I saw. It's only I mean, I would imagine that having a third tank player would be helpful so you can rotate people out because that's the one thing that
Hmm.
Jake can't do.
Yeah.
And they, to my understanding, they only had the 2 tank players. They had Jongu and Piggy,
Yes.
who I believe both came up from Contenders. So
Yes.
maybe bringing in a league veteran as well to be able to, I don't know if that's a mentality clutch. I don't know if that's like, I don't know why they brought him in, but obviously it's working out for him.
Yeah, no, he's looked good. It was just I was curious as to why they brought him in and immediately started playing him, considering how good Jonggu looked. Like Jonggu looked like one of the best main tanks in the world.
I mean, I haven't seen anything from them. I don't know, but I feel like in each role, having at least one person you can rotate out just in case,
Oh, it's
or
definitely a good idea.
yeah, yeah.
I just was wondering why he was getting the start. Was all. Not that I don't think he deserves a start, but it was just Jonggu looked like he was. It was one of those things of like, well, this isn't broke. I don't know why you're trying to fix it.
Well, did Dreamer start on Saturday and Sunday both, or just
I
Sunday?
believe so.
Okay. Yeah,
I'm
I have no idea. Maybe it's just veteran owl tank. Who
It,
knows?
it very well could be. In any case, moving on to our next item, also involving main tanks, Shredlock has decided to step down from the Vancouver Titans and retire from Overwatch altogether. He had a
Oof.
twit longer. It didn't go into all of the details, but basically I just don't think he was happy doing it and kind of wanted to stop. Let me pull it back up because my memory is kind of
I
failing
mean,
me.
it makes sense. He came in to replace the Titans roster that was runaway, essentially, and
Yes.
dropped mid season. He came in as a backfill for bullshit. And as we all know, backfilling in an Overwatch match is incredibly difficult to begin with. And
Especially with how loved that runaway roster. Like, let's be real, that was one of the reasons Vancouver built a fan base as quickly as they did.
oh yeah, absolutely. And I mean just like playing normal ass Overwatch, being thrown into a match to backfill is hard.
Yeah.
Being thrown into an entire season to backfill a beloved team that was unceremoniously dumped because the organization was terrible, not an easy thing to do. And then going through two very, or I guess a season and a half of just very difficult times.
Yeah.
And again, we don't know if Vancouver Titans as an organization has picked things up. We don't know if they are doing better because we'd heard about a lot of management issues and a lot of, I hesitate to call it like mistreatment of players, but it still wasn't, great. So it makes me wonder how much the organization did to try to make this new roster feel welcomed, feel supported. And I mean, it's just
Oh,
really hard to
they
go in as a
failed them
pro and
utterly.
lose all your matches or a lot of your matches.
Yeah, like so I found the twit longer. Basically, he said he didn't want to bore anyone with his life story, but this has been on his mind on and off for a little while now, and he believes this is the right choice for him. The organization gave him a great opportunity. They were nothing but welcoming and supportive. Sorry to all the people that rooted for the team. Sorry for spending a year here with nothing to show for it and for leaving the team rather abruptly. That being said, he thinks they found a good replacement and he hopes everyone will continue to support the team like he will. He's going to stay in Vancouver for a bit to explore the city, work on some of his own personal goals, and then return to school.
Well, good for him for knowing that it's the right decision for him.
Yeah. And that's the most important thing, especially like when you're like that. He's only like what, 19?
God damn, is he?
I think so.
Oh, he young. But yeah, it's difficult to make those kinds of life decisions at all, let alone at that age. Like, it's very, very hard to do. And for him to recognize this about himself and to recognize that he's not where he wants or needs to be, and that his next step is away from this particular career, that's really hard to do.
Yeah.
So good on him for recognizing that, for being able to make that decision. And I'm hoping that he will get the support he needs going forward.
So
Because
far,
phrasing
oh,
like, I won't bore you with my life story and I spent a year and have nothing to show for it, make me worry for him a little bit. And I do hope that he gets the support he
mhm.
needs.
Yeah, it sounds like this is a decision that was hard for him and definitely like the struggles of the, of the Vancouver Titans have kind of weighed on him.
Yeah,
Um, but like everything that I've seen, like there are a bunch of Overwatch players who have, responded, and they've all been very supportive and kind. So
that's
it's
good.
good. It's good to see. And
That's
he
good.
said that they think they found a good replacement. And reportedly, according to the rumor mill, according to some very people who usually get this stuff right, the
So
Titans,
slasher,
Halo.
Halo.
Reportedly, the Titans are going to be signing Korean main tank player Changshik.
Okay.
Changshik is a guy who's been in Overwatch since pretty much day one. Started with Rhinos Gaming Wings, moved on to Meta Athena, a team that generated a lot of players that we've seen in the Overwatch League. Guys like Nuss, Libero, Saya Player, Awesome Guy, Chris, fuck, who else? I think Jerry was on there for a while. Flora was on there. Like a lot of big names came through there. Then he played for Kongdu Unsi and Kongdu Panthera. Again, a lot of really talented players have come out of there. Guys like Decay, Fisher, so on. And sort of the last thing we saw him do was play for Fusion University, and rack up 3 Contenders titles with that team. However, that was the last time he played for a team in a professional capacity, and that ended in December of 2019. So we haven't seen him play on a team in over a year at this
This
point.
this feels a little bit like Dallas picking up Pine. They've got
Yeah.
a great pedigree, but they've been out of it for a chunk of time.
Yeah, it's a question as to how he's going to perform, and a lot of people were like, "Wait, why?" But I am mad. Apparently, they trialed a bunch of Western main tanks as well, and I have no idea like who. The posts I saw didn't name any names, but apparently he beat out a bunch of Western main tanks for this spot, if this is in fact true. So I'll be interested to kind of see what he brings to bear, because like this guy, as far as I know, has been playing in Overwatch, I think since July of 2016.
Dang.
I think that was his tournament debut.
Dang. All right. Well, it's a hell of a pedigree. We'll have to
Yeah.
see how it goes. I'm kind of thinking, honestly, hearing this, I think of Geggery, who had incredible tank numbers who had, fairly middling tank numbers during season one. And then you realize she was on the Shanghai Dragons and her numbers were fucking incredible for being on the
Mhm.
bottom team. And I'm looking at that situation where you've got that really good player in there, but the team is not coming together. And I'm wondering how that's going to shake out.
In some cases, like I think that's part of it, but the one thing that I kind of want to draw attention to is that like he has again picked up 3 Contenders titles. He got second place in another Contenders, losing to Runaway, though I think Roar did most of the playing in that one. Came in second at Nexus Cup 2017, competed in the original like OG and Overwatch Apex tournaments. Like he's definitely had time to sort of prove himself at like at or close to the top of the pile. But even if he didn't kind of stand out in the same way that a lot of other main tanks kind of uh, did in the community, but he's a good player. Like it'll be interesting to see how he integrates into this roster, especially because with Fusion University, he had time to sort of um, you know, experience a mixed roster.
Yeah, so we'll see how this plays out.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm curious if this is to see what happens if this is true.
Yeah.
Up next, we have another retirement and a another return. Erster has decided to leave the Shanghai Dragons and retire from competitive Overwatch, though the wording of the post kind of makes it seem like he might end up pursuing a different game. I don't think he mentioned anything as of yet, but I could be wrong.
But
But
odds are good that he's another Valorant jump.
very well could be.
Possibly. Possibly.
But yeah, that is the end of Erster's time in the Overwatch League, which is a real shame because he's one of those guys that I thought had a ton of potential that he hasn't really gotten to show off. Um, so seeing him get to go without really getting to make his mark in a lot of ways is kind of sad.
Yeah. Like, again, we talk about a great player on a team that isn't coming together. He was a linchpin of the Atlanta Reign DPS line.
Yeah,
But we talk about Atlanta being that gatekeeping team where they're in 20 teams, they're around spot 10, and 16 teams, they're around spot 8. They're smack in the middle.
yeah,
And it's hard to be that excellent standout player in a middling team and then going to Shanghai, which has become an excellent standout team full of excellent standout players. You're one of the many, and then you're competing for that spot in the DPS line with the established Shanghai Dragons DPS line.
yeah, and he didn't really get any playing time. And I wonder if that's part of it. If part of it's just not really feeling that same passion for Overwatch. Who knows? But best of luck in his future endeavors.
Indeed.
And to replace him, the Shanghai Dragons have signed Who Are You?
We talked about this at the beginning of the episode. No, yeah. Yep.
Who are you? And even the R and the U are capitalized in his name.
I'm a DPS for the Shanghai Dragons now. I'm
so
not. I'm in bronze. Uh,
So yeah, Who Are You was a guy who made a real big name for himself on Lunatic High for being like one of like a sort of generation of like Genji Wunderkind with like Haksal. Then ended up on Fusion University during their just absolute reign of dominance. And then signed on to NYXL and never really lived up to the potential that we had seen from him before and the expectations that people had for him, and then retired at the end of the 2020, and then retired at the end of the 2020 season before coming out of retirement to join the Shanghai Dragons. And again, I really hope that he has an opportunity to get some play time and show what he can do because projectile ability is really, really, amazing when he's on. And I'd love to be able to see him again because he's one of those guys that again has been in the game since 2016.
so seeing him back on a pro team, hopefully getting some play time. Again, we just talked about Erster not getting a lot of play time at all, so we'll see.
Yeah. And I hope that he does get to show up and we'll see what happens, especially because the Shanghai Dragons, like they definitely haven't looked as over the course of the season, they didn't look as strong without Lip in the roster. But we'll see like what Who Are You can bring in because he and Fleta do have a fair bit of overlap. But if you end up playing projectile heavy compositions, he can be very good at that. And yeah, I just I'm excited for this, and I hope he gets some playtime.
Here's hoping. I know we have fewer matches overall this season, but
Mm-hmm.
hopefully they're able to integrate him in the team pretty quickly and we'll see what happens.
Yeah. So next up, Team CC, their former head coach No Hill is currently LFT and has drawn the interest of multiple Overwatch League teams. It'll be interesting to see who picks him up and how that works out, especially because so I don't know how familiar you are with him and the situation.
I'm not.
So Team CC, with him in charge, has so he teams that he has coached between Team CC and LGE. have won Contenders seasons 5 times or four
Damn.
times and a gauntlet, and then has another two second place finishes. Like, he's one of the most dominant coaches in Chinese Overwatch. However, he is also he's someone who's known for being outspoken, little bit vulgar in terms of like his language, and is also someone who he talks trash. And
Huh.
that's part of the reason why Team CC ended up letting him go, because basically, like, he'll analyze teams and stuff and he'll say things like very bluntly, but everything that I could find out about his release has sort of made it sound like he made some critical comments about the Chengdu Hunters, that ended up getting sort of misapplied and taken out of context by fans who already didn't like him because of him being kind of outspoken and brash, and kind of like rubbing some people the wrong way. And then that ended up generating some groundswell that caused Team CC, which is the academy team for the Shanghai Dragons, to end up releasing him.
Hmm. So this could be, in terms of just coaching level, this could be a great pickup for any team. In
Uh,
terms of PR, it could be a liability.
yeah, and that's the question, because again, all of what all of what I've been able to find about him, because up until he got fired, I really just knew him as, the coach of the winningest teams in Chinese Contenders for like 2 years straight at this point. Um, but so like I don't really know like what he said personally. I can't speak to it with any sort of authoritative knowledge or anything like that. But basically, you know, I don't know if people were justified in getting angry at him, or if it was a case of just, people, getting irritated and sort of ending up with him getting a target painted on his back or like whatever. I have no fucking idea.
And we've also got some lost in translation on our
Yeah.
end.
Yeah, exactly. Like all that I'm getting is secondhand.
So
Um
once again, we sit here and go, we'll see.
the
We
one
might.
Oh, sorry. I was going to say the one thing that kind of makes me at least willing to give him something of the benefit of the doubt from my only like semi-informed perspective is apparently some of the comments that like people got really angry about was him like watching Chengdu Hunters games and being like, why the fuck are they running this here? Or something along those lines, where it's like, this is a really weird composition. I don't get this at all. And I don't like. I don't know if that's what he said or how he said it, but it was him questioning compositional choices. Basically, I don't know the exact wording, but
Bug
apparently
Nuts
he,
compositional choices are Chengdu Hunter's bread and butter.
yeah, but apparently, like, he talked to RUI, the head coach of the Chengdu Hunters, and some people within the organization, and there's no bad blood between them or anything, or at least that's what I have heard. So I
Who
fuck if I
knows?
know, but it's just an interesting. It's something that will be an interesting situation to kind of watch, because again, he's a very good coach that could be a good pickup for one of these APAC teams. But the question is, you know,
Is it worth it?
how, yeah, is it going to be worth it? Like, how legitimate are the grievances that people have with him and how he conducts himself? I have no idea, but I will be interested to see how it plays out and if he ends up getting signed anywhere. Because again, reportedly, multiple Overwatch League teams are just kind of like, I might want some of that.
Well, I'm going for my bold predictions, not at all sponsored by Pringles. I would not be surprised if, Nun coach with left Choi, Guangzhou Charge picks him up because
That
they
yeah,
need more coaches.
that's possible. That's possible.
That's if they're desperate and he's good, that might be it.
Yeah, and I think there was something about him like following like the COO of the Charge org on Weibo or something. So maybe.
We shall see. Keep ending all of our news pieces with "we'll see," but that's all we can do.
Well, yeah, some of this is speculative. Here's something that we won't see about Revival, an organization that was founded when Mayhem Academy released all their players, and those players kind of decided to stick together and found their own org, has decided that they will no longer be fielding an Overwatch team. So Revival, if you don't watch Contenders, you might not know them, but a lot of Owl players either came through them into the league or ended up working with them in some capacity after leaving the league. And just to give you a rundown of some of those names, Mangachu, Apply, iRemix, Tvik, Paintbrush, Manitin, Fact Fiction, uh, Aspen when she was starting her sort of pro run, in addition to just being a streamer, played with them. Um, Fucking Gig, Muma, McGravy, Paintbrush and Apply already mentioned, LH Cloudy, and Gods ended up coaching for them for a while. Curry Shot coached for them for a while, and he has coached for the Charge and is now he has coached for the Charge and also the Gladiators. So like they're
Everyone.
yeah, they're a team that had a ton of people come through their doors. And while they're going to continue to field teams in other games and all that, but it's kind of sad to see an org that was kind of born out of Overwatch decide to leave it.
Yeah, and that's one more avenue on the path to pro for potential pro Overwatch players closing.
Yeah.
Pour one
How
out for Revival. It's not getting revived.
ironic.
Hmm.
However, speaking of revivals, Fusion University is returning to Contenders for the first time in over a year and has fielded a Contenders Trials EU lineup made up of all of the Philadelphia players who they haven't been able to get visas for.
I mean, you got to do something.
Yeah, but just imagine a team going into Contenders Trials that has Poco, Funny Astro, Boombox, and Shockwave on that lineup, supplemented by former Uprising Academy slash Karasuno main tank JKRU 19, and Giali, formerly known as Sugar Free, who was a fixture in a lot of the Overwatch like tier 2 scene throughout Contenders. And he had left for Valorant, but temporarily came back for Fusion University. He said he's just here until they figure something else out or for like this run. Um, but he started playing Overwatch when he was like fucking like 13 and he was on the pro level just like shitting on people.
Man.
Yeah, and so you have that lineup going into Contenders Trials. And so far, they're 3-0 and have only dropped a single map and have spent most of their matches doing what can really only be described as cyberbullying. Like, they're just fucking, like, posing in front of people's spawn doors.
I mean, on the one hand, yeah, no, this is absolutely not fair in Contenders. On the other hand, this is Fusion looking out for this. This is Fusion going. We're not. They dropped their universe. If I'm remembering this correctly, they dropped their university team. They didn't have anyone in Contenders.
Well, sort of. They had kind of disbanded Fusion University as it existed, and they've also what was it?
They've done something.
Oh, T1 in Korean Contenders is basically kind of like an academy team for them at this point.
Ah. My point is, they have 4 players who, when they decided to go to Asia to go compete in APAC, they could not get them visas. So instead of pulling a Boston and parting ways with their player for whom they could not get a visa, and I'm so sad that that happened too soon. I remain sad that that happened too soon. They looked at their players and went, "So we're going to revive our Contenders team, and we're going to put you guys on it. So we're still taking care of you. And then we are going to bring other people in to flesh it out. So you guys will still be playing, you'll still be in practice, like you'll still be sharp, and you'll still be under our name. We're still taking care of you guys, even though we can't have you over here playing in the big leagues." And man, that says something about the organization.
Yeah, and I really, really fucking yeah, I love this move in terms of them at least getting to play thing, like giving them play time, giving them an opportunity to keep, making their names, keep them, keep them active so that, if they end up being able to play them, they can play. If not, they're still able to, be practiced and show value for next season, or if they end up pursuing free agency or something. Like this is a move I like.
Yeah. So what region is Fusion University playing in? Are they doing American, EU, or APAC for
Uh,
Contenders?
this is EU. However, I think they said that they're going to field an NA team at some point as well. I'm going to double check with that.
Okay.
Fusion University this time is part of EU Contenders. Um, as we continue to navigate, blah 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 blah. Okay, yeah, it looks like it's just going to be EU right now.
So EU was used to getting dunked on by British Hurricane. Now all the British Hurricane players are in the league, and we have a number of league players going back down to EU Contenders so they could just get used to being dunked on by someone else. Man! EU Contenders just has like 1 or 2 top dog teams, and then everyone else is busting their asses. I just find it really funny that half, if not all, of their top dog team got picked up and is on London now, who's having some trouble. And then one of the best teams in America had to drop some of their players because of
Mhm.
visa, and they're still being taken care of by that org. And now they're in EU Contenders.
And now they're in EU Contenders, just wrecking shop.
Yeah, yeah. It's like if British Hurricane never left.
Pretty much. So last bit of news for right now. The Toronto Defiant apparently have 3 confirmed cases of COVID within the organization, one of them being Logix, who has evidently been in and out of the hospital. And so I just wanted to highlight this and, wish him and the others who I don't believe have been named just a speedy recovery and wish him the best.
Yeah, this is God. It's easy in if you live in the United States, it's easy to go, we have the vaccine, people are getting vaccinated, life is opening up again, the whole nature is healing meme, and say the pandemic is over. The pandemic is global. America finished their part of the group assignment and then forgot it was a group assignment. And it is definitely not over globally. It's still very much something to take seriously, regardless of where you live. So, yeah, we send Logix and the other 2 people in the Defiant organization who have tested positive for COVID. We send them our best. We hope they do well. We hope they pull through. We hope that they do not get long COVID, hoping for the absolute best for all of them. And to everyone else, wear a mask, get vaccinated when you can, be careful, be compassionate.
Damn straight.
Yeah.
So, shall we get into our predictions for the next week?
I think we shall. How will we flip tables this time?
Well, we start off with the London Spitfire against the Dallas Fuel, and I don't think we're going to see an upset here. I'm very confident in rooting for my Blue Boys.
if we see an upset here, I will voluntarily tweet Bren and Sideshow and ask them for mythology lessons. Don't fuck it up, Dallas.
Please don't.
Please
Uh,
don't. I don't need that in my life. But that's how certain I am that dark blue is going to win over light blue in this case.
Next up, the LA Gladiators versus the Vancouver Titans, and I think we're going to see the Gladiators take that one.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is the first time that we're seeing both of these teams in this hero pool, so we'll see how things go. But with
Mm-hmm.
the recent upheaval in the Titans and with the Gladiators still being relatively solid despite having a rough outing the first few matches, like, I think they've got this one.
Yeah, agreed.
Speaking
Following,
of, I
yeah,
think they've got this one.
yeah. This one,
Shanghai versus the Valiant.
yeah, bit of a softball to vote for Shanghai here, but you know what? I'm gonna do
Yeah, let's go with Shanghai. I could use that extra 5 points on my pick'ems for the easy 3-0.
it. Next up, we have the NYXL versus the Seoul Dynasty, and this is interesting.
Yeah, because we haven't seen Dynasty play this hero pool yet. They
No.
did not play this week.
And NYXL had one, impressive upset, and then one where they fell short. So it's kind of hard to gauge where they're at.
I'm gonna go with Seoul. Fuck it, why not? I don't have a better reason than that to go with Seoul. Let's be real.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, that makes a ton of I think you could go either way, but I definitely would lean to Seoul as well.
Yeah, coming back stateside, we have the Houston Outlaws versus the London Spitfire. London's
Uh,
just gonna get rolled over by Texas this
it's
weekend.
a bad run for it's a brutal strength of schedule for London.
I mean, I feel bad for London as an organization. Like, I don't know anything about their practices as an organization, but I feel bad for the fans because London has not been able to keep a strong team for like 3 years. And it's awful. And at this point, it's a bunch of people who just got pulled up from Contenders, along with a
Yeah,
few other people who have been in the league for a bit. And they're just getting steamrolled. They've been pulled up to the major leagues only to get run over by them. It's rough. Can
yeah,
they go play Vancouver and Washington for a little bit? Feel
yeah.
better about themselves?
They've had a brutally tough schedule, and
They
if they end up
have.
if they realistically could end up going 0-8, and if that happens, like their path to showing up in the playoffs at all is just vanishingly small.
I mean, I don't think they're going to be able to flip Houston. Atlanta was
I don't
able to
think so.
flip Houston, and Atlanta's doing a lot better than London.
Yeah,
And again, this is their what? Second new roster in 2 years, third new roster in three. They keep like
yeah,
dropping everyone or dropping most people, and you can't get consistency that way.
pretty much.
Sky blue, water wet. Uh, yeah. So that's going to be an easy one to watch if you're a Houston fan, but probably just a curb stomp.
Yeah,
Speaking of San Francisco versus Toronto.
yeah. This one, I'm pretty confident San Francisco's got this.
And I mean, it's hard to sit here and go, oh, yeah, no, Toronto, especially with what we just covered in the news. But especially with what we just covered in the news,
Yeah,
yeah, I don't think. And I think we're also going to be dealing with angry San Francisco.
I was about to say the same thing, because even if they, came up short and ended up taking a couple L's, that tends to remotivate them, and they've had time to go back to the drawing board and have Krusty sort of work his magic.
Yeah, yeah. And with this hero pool, I mean, I don't know what we're gonna do. Poor Super, we're never gonna see him play, but
Yeah,
there, it's easy to take pot shots at Super. He's got such a good sense of humor about it.
he does.
It's fine. He's a good kid. It's
I
fine.
still I still remember, at some point, when I was watching one of his streams, I had to explain to him who Vince McMahon was.
Oh boy.
I
Oh
just
boy. Oh boy.
like someone made a wrestling reference and someone said, mentioned Vince McMahon in the chat. And he just goes, "Who the fuck is Vince McMahon?" And I'm like, "Oh god,
Oh no. I mean, I'm Irish, so I'm used to those kinds of names.
yeah."
But sometimes you just look at a name and go, I don't know how to say that. I don't know how to say that.
Also, isn't he a fucking Philly boy? There's a decent Irish population there.
He is. He is, I guess. I don't know. Regardless, he's a
Yeah,
good kid. He's a meme lord. He's a bit of a shitbird, but he's a good kid. So yeah, I think San Francisco is going to take this, and I don't think that is a not sponsored by Pringles bold prediction. I need to come up with a different phrase because that's not a good one. Atlanta Reign versus LA Gladiators.
sorry, Glad.
Oh, it's gonna be Atlanta. If Atlanta plays anything like they did last week, I think the Gladiators are in trouble. And
Yeah,
let's be real, Gladiators versus Vancouver is not a good litmus test of where the Gladiators actually are for this
yeah.
hero pool.
It will be difficult to tell, but I feel like if they put on a really strong performance, then maybe this will be a close one. But I still feel confident that it'll be Atlanta.
Yeah. I don't have a good segue for this. New York versus the Valiant. New
New
York.
York,
New
New
York.
York.
I feel like it's going to be another one of those weeks where they have a good match and a bad match, and I think this is going to be their good match by default.
Yeah, it could very well be the case. Next, we've got the interesting sort of return of the Dynasty versus Dragons rivalry.
And this is a hard one to call because we saw the Dragons on both extremes last week, and we haven't seen Soul play yet for this hero pool. So this
Yeah,
is another coin toss.
yeah, and I'm not so. This is one that I'm very interested in, just because I feel like, um, I feel like you've got a lot with these two teams that you can sort of use as fuel to vote for them in either case, because Gesture is amazing at Winston and Prophet has great like dive synergy with him. I think Anamo's S tier skill is staying alive, so having him on the
Yeah.
Mercy like supporting a Prophet on Echo could be very strong. um, so it depends what sort of compositions they play, but I could see Dynasty putting up a strong fight here. I'm still leaning a little more in the direction of Shanghai, just based on the sort of totality of their performances. But I could see Seoul winning this, especially depending on how they look against the NYXL, like what state we kind of see them in.
You know what? I'm still feeling the chaos, so I'm going to go with Soul.
Hey, you know what? Respect.
Because why
I
not?
I don't fault you for that.
Why not? All I can think of is, and my roommate would be so proud of me for saying this, there's a Simpsons episode. And I think, yeah, she's the big Simpsons one in the household. And so the fact that I'm doing this at all, it's one of the earlier ones, and it's Kang and Kodos?
Kang and Kodos.
Kang and Kodos taking over one of the presidential elections and just pretending to be, I don't remember who it was. I think it was Bill Clinton and whoever was running against him. And so, way back when. And at the end, like towards the end, when they're revealed to be Kang and Kodos, I think it's Homer that goes, I'll just vote third party. And one of them goes, of course, throw your vote away. And that's kind of what making predictions here feels like sometimes. Just, yeah, I think Soul's gonna win. Of course, throw your vote away.
You know what? Whatever. It's not like we've been keeping track of who's been right about this time around.
Not on this podcast, but I have 12 whole points in the June joust, and I would like more. Me at the ass end of the pick'ems going, I'm still here. Anyway, we move on to Toronto versus Houston, and let's be real, unless they're having a real rough week, it's going to be Houston.
I'm pretty confident in that, yeah.
Yeah.
Next up, Vancouver Titans versus Atlanta Reign. And once again, I'm pretty sure Atlanta's got this.
Yeah, Atlanta's looking good, and Toronto hasn't looked good in a while.
It's true. It's sad but true.
Also,
And
and I should have said this when we were doing the news, I
uh,
didn't realize that Shredlock went to Philly. Not Shredlock. Jesus Christ. Shockwave.
yeah, he was.
Oh my god.
Yeah, he got picked up by Philly.
No, I didn't know that he'd switched teams until they started playing, and I went, where the fuck is Shockwave?
Oh no,
Where is my
yeah,
Decepticon?
yeah, no, they've both announced it. I don't know how you missed it.
I don't follow either of them, and we didn't talk about it?
I feel like I mentioned it during the super long return episode, but that was also the super long return episode.
Yeah, that was 2.5 hours of the Element Mystic reunion tour.
Yes.
So, so I don't know, man. Yeah, I'm gonna be watching Contenders when it comes back around, and just being like, yeah, there's my boy, there's my Decepticon.
There
Ah.
he is, the mad lad. And then finally closing it out, the match I'm most excited for this week, Dallas Fuel versus San Francisco Shock.
And this is the point where I bring back throw your vote away, because I'm going Shock.
I don't think you're throwing your vote away at all. Like, I think, if any team has earned the benefit of the doubt, even after a rough patch, it is the San Francisco Shock. But I have faith in the Dallas Fuel, especially in their recent run of performances. And because, like, obviously, like, a lot of the heroes that they've been playing very regularly have been banned. But one, they've got a new hit scan weapon. And two, I don't think a lot of their comfort picks have been iced out by the hero pool. So
And I
I,
mean,
I
if I'm remembering this correctly, Dallas Fuel was picking Soldier anyway before Tracer and Sombra were banned.
yeah, but
So
that was mostly because I think it was what Doha and Sparkle were more comfortable on out of the hit scan heroes.
fair.
With Pine, you can break out the Ash or the McCree or the Widowmaker and so forth.
So honestly, in terms of this one, Dallas Fuel is the better bet, but I'm going with Shock. Either way,
Go for
in
it. I'm
terms
excited
of,
for this.
oh yeah, I think that, yeah, I think that Atlanta versus Gladiators is going to be an interesting one. We might have a good match out of that one, but I also think that our barn burners this weekend are Seoul and Shanghai and Dallas and San Francisco.
Yeah, that's what I expect as well.
So we will see. Because we've definitely had, oh yeah, these are going to be the barn burners. And then it's 3 Overwatch and we wind up with a barn burner somewhere else.
Mm-hmm.
I will forever remember week 1 telling my roommate on Sunday, yeah, I just want to sit down and watch the Houston match. They're up against the Shock. This is going to take like an hour. It'll be fine. And then at the end of 2.5 hours, staring at the TV, screaming my fool head off, and her going, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, "Yes, no, maybe. Oh my God, look at that shatter."
Yeah, pretty much. Like these are just gonna be some good fucking games.
Yeah, yeah. This has been such a completely batshit insane season, and I'm so excited for it. And I'm having such a good time. God bless.
Yeah. Oh my god, hang on, I gotta
It
put my head.
waited. It
Yeah,
waited and it
it
came
did.
back with friends.
It waited until it could catch me by surprise. Fuck.
I'm keeping this. Yeah, I came out here to have a good time. I am not in any capacity feeling attacked. I'm having a great time. Even when I'm having a terrible time, I'm still having a great time. This is what it's like to be an Outlaws fan, guys. Even when I'm having a terrible time, I'm having a great time. If that weren't too long to be the episode title, it would be the episode title. But the
Yeah, we
current
don't. Oh, sorry. I was gonna say I feel like we didn't have a super strong front runner on this, but I feel
Oh,
like
the
you
current
were.
frontrunners are Hi, it's me, Boston. I can headshot a tire, like BQB and my imaginary boyfriend, and Where is my Decepticon?
I feel like you could just for the Boston one specifically, it could just be Are you there, Owl? It's me, Boston.
Oh, the "Hi, it's me, Boston," like I said, is specifically a reference
Oh yeah, no, this is a
so
reference
that
as well,
everyone
but
knows I am game theory trash.
yeah.
Anyway, I love game theory, fight me. Anyway, that's the one that people will actually fight me over, and it might be a problem. Anyway, good times, great oldies. Do we want to do the traditional Reddit check to see if anything has gone down while we're recording?
I mean, I've been checking it pretty consistently just to double check things, but I'm doing it again.
And
Um,
for date purposes, this was recorded on May 26th.
oh,
So, what? What?
Smurf removed shock branding from his bio.
Huh. Huh. Huh.
What?
Huh. 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 Well, shit. Okay, so here's what always happens. And people who've been here for a while, hi, we love you. Are you lost? We love you. Um almost every time we record, something goes down the next day that we don't recover. Almost every time, something happens the next day between when we've recorded and when I have this rendered and uploaded. Something goes down in Overwatch League news that we aren't able to cover. So I'm assuming that this is going to be it. You there?
Yeah, no, sorry. I was just like, wow, okay, this wasn't something that I would have seen coming.
Yeah, and I mean, it might just be he redid his profile, removed it on accident, and forgot, or it might be he got ahead of a
Oh,
I am retiring or being traded announcement.
hang on. Apparently, someone asked Super about it on a stream. I'm gonna watch the clip.
Asked Super about it?
Yeah. Super just kind of memes on the person who asked, like, I know our Overwatch League players are supposed to have the stuff in their team and their Twitter bio, asking for a friend, like hypothetically someone on the shock. If hypothetically they didn't have it in their Twitter bio, would they get in trouble? And Super's like, no, you're not going to get in trouble. Like, yeah, I know Smurf doesn't have the shit in his bio, but like, what am I going to go over to his room and knock on his door? Like, that's a bad boy, Smurf.
Yeah, so either something is happening and we're NDA'd to hell and back,
Mm-hmm.
or nothing is happening and we're just looking at things like, is something happening? So who knows? Who
Mm-hmm.
knows? Who knows? My
Yeah,
not sponsored by Pringles bold prediction is that nothing is happening. That's what I'm going with.
it very well could be. But still, that's always one of those things that when you see it, you're just like, oh, is
Huh.
something about to go down?
You just kind of look at that and go, huh. That's all I've got. Huh. So yeah, we'll see. Um, if something does go down before I get this uploaded, I will probably
Yeah.
comment on it in the information section. So, check that shit out, I guess. But yeah, I think that is all we have for this 2-hour long session. We have
Yeah.
fun. We have a lot of fun.
We do.
Sometimes we go a little crazy talking about mythology, but we have fun. Anyway, CJ, where can the people find you?
You can find me on Twitter at _rage_nerd. And yeah, that's pretty much it right now. I'm just on that job hunt grind. Don't really have too many side projects that are in any state to share yet.
Further bulletins when events warrant. I'm Katie. You can follow me all over the social medias as well as on YouTube and Twitch at Kiaxet. That is Kiaxet. I am also on a podcast about Rooster Teeth things. It is Rooster Team Radio. It's available on all of your podcasting sites and also on Anchor. I am on that with my lovely roommate and 2 other lovely co-hosts, and we have a really good time. And we are still talking about Ruby right now because when are we not talking about Ruby? Yeah, join in. It's a good time. All right. Let's see. You can follow us at On the Point Pod on Twitter, Be good people. Guys, wear a mask. Just do it. Wear a mask. Get vaccinated if you're not already vaccinated, if you're able. I know things are a little wild. Support your essential workers. Wear a mask around your essential workers. Be chill. They're humans. They deserve compassion. Speaking of humans who deserve compassion, Black Lives Matter, Black Trans Lives Matter, Black LGBTQIA Lives Matter, AAPI Lives Matter, Black Lives Matter. They all matter. It just, that's not going to change. That has not changed. Black Lives Matter. Yes. Contact your representatives. Make sure they're doing what you want them to do. Make sure you're registered to vote. Wear a mask. Get vaccinated. Take care of each other. Remember that we love you. And yeah, taking care of each other is about the only way we're going to get through this. We're not done yet. Stay the course. Stay on the objective. We're getting there. We're not done.
Just follow best practices, take care of yourself, take care of others. Just err on the side of caution.
Err on the side of caution and err on the side of compassion. Both. Is there anything else?
I can't think of anything.
All right. Let's see 9.